We have an NHL trade to discuss today, this time between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll get into all the details coming up next. Welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now we have some more breaking news out of the NHL. We have another trade to discuss. Erik Haula has been traded from the Vegas Golden Knights to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for prospect Nikolai Waugh and a conditional 2021 fifth round selection. Now, of course, the condition on this pick is basically as follows. If Erik Haula remains on the roster beyond next season, or if he's traded and they receive a player or picks in return, then the pick does go to Vegas. If he walks as a free agent after the coming season, which his contract is up, then they don't receive the pick. So it's just that simple. If he's traded or remains with Hurricanes, the pick goes to Vegas. So more than likely that will be the case. So for them to give up a prospect and a conditional fifth round selection for a player like Erik Haula, I think is an incredible deal here for the Hurricanes. Another great case of GM Don Waddell taking advantage of his salary cap space and taking advantage of other teams who are in a cap crunch to get himself a pretty solid deal here. Now, of course, Erik Haula was originally with Minnesota. Vegas got him in the expansion draft and ended up putting up 29 goals in his first season with Vegas. Last year, though, unfortunately, his season was cut short. Only got into 15 games. I mean, there were 15 decent games for him, but unfortunately, he succumbed to injury and was out for the rest of the season. So hopefully he can resume playing here and get back to his old ways like he did his first year in Vegas. And of course, on the Hurricane side here, we know that they're looking to add some secondary scoring, and they needed to boost that up to really have a better shot at going deeper into the playoffs if they can get back to where they were this past season. So adding a guy like Haula, like I said, who's a former 29-goal scorer, can play between your second line, even third line if necessary, is a pretty solid addition. They didn't really give up a whole heck of a lot to make it happen either. Now, from the Vegas standpoint, of course, they're still technically over the salary cap limit here. Of course, Haula made $2.75 million, so that does cut down their salary cap projection here, but with the cap only being 81.5, and you'll see here on the screen, they're still over $86 million right now, so more money needs to go here. The salary cap shedding is just beginning in Vegas, and they have a couple different options here on how they can go about this. Now, one option, if they find it difficult making trades or don't find deals that they really want to do, they can take the David Clarkson contract, which they still hold here for one more year, and place that on LTIR to get cap relief, and he makes $5.25 million. So if you subtract that off the $86 million that they're paying out now, that certainly does bring things in line, but it makes things very tight, and it's certainly not ideal given the fact that they need to sign a backup goaltender, whether it be Malcolm Subban or somebody else, and they don't have the rest of their roster filled out. So some more money does have to go, and there's some veterans like Derek England and Belmar, for example, who they'd like to re-sign but just don't have the space right now. And there's some other guys like a Nikita Gusev that need a new contract as well. Now, there's been a lot of talk that Colin Miller, right shot defenseman, could be one to go. He's got a contract over $3 million. He's kind of fallen out of favor. His ice time has been down. So he could be a guy that's a little bit more of a hot commodity to be able to get a better return on. But at the same time, obviously, teams know Vegas is in a bit of a predicament here, so they're not going to be offering up too much. So I don't expect great returns on some of these other trades that we might see Vegas make. But outside of Colin Miller, wouldn't be surprised to see a player like Nikita Gusev possibly be moved. I mean, they would probably prefer to sign him. Obviously, they brought him over from the KHL near the end of last year. But of course, he could also possibly be a candidate here for an offer sheet as well. I know when we talk about offer sheets, we talk a lot about guys that are like at the top of the realm here, like, you know, Mitch Marner, Sebastian Aho, and Braden Point, and all those guys. And so he's certainly not at that level because he's not a proven NHL star, but he was a very proven guy over in the KHL. And, you know, perhaps we might see teams come along and take a shot here on a lower contract amount and not have to give up a whole lot to get Gusev. So they're certainly a little bit vulnerable to that, although it's not something I fully expect and just a possibility. But they are going to have to move out some more contracts here for sure, whether it be Colin Miller or David Clarkson. Now, the Clarkson contract complicates things a bit because it does have a modified no trade. So there is some say. He has submitted his list, even though he hasn't played for a while. He does have to provide that every year to teams that he would or would not accept a trade to. And even though that might sound weird, obviously one thing that does impact David Clarkson as a player, and he did have that right in his contract, was obviously depending on who pays him will determine what his take-home pay is, because all the different state taxes or Canadian taxes are all different depending on where you play, and obviously Vegas is one of the more favorable spots for that. So obviously he would probably prefer for the contract to stay where it is. So I guess we will see what happens. Vegas has more moves to make, Carolina could continue taking advantage of their salary cap space, but they do have some other work to do here. Right now, they don't have any lost their goaltenders signed. Sebastian Aho contract negotiations have not gone well so far. It was being reported that they were only offering $6 million on an 8-year contract, so that's way too low. I did indicate before as well I had some concerns over Tom Dunham's ability to spend here, getting some of these guys locked up. But they certainly have no problem spending when it comes to using their cap space to take advantage of good deals. So they need to start looking after some of their own guys internally here to really give this team a good shot for next year. So we'll see what happens. I think both of these teams are teams to watch here moving forward. The Hurricanes, we might see them possibly buy out Patrick Marleau. We might see them buy out Scott Darling. We could see them, obviously look to sign some of their other guys like Aho, and Vegas needs to shed more salary too. So as we approach free agency here on July the 1st, I fully expect both these teams to be somewhat active. Probably Vegas a little bit more of a necessity here. So stay tuned. We'll see what these guys are up to and how they can get their rosters and salary cap situation in order. So, of course, as always, want to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. What do you think of this trade? I think it's probably fair to say here that the Carolina Hurricanes win, but I'd love to hear your thoughts so we can continue the conversation. If you're new to the channel as well, stay tuned for all the updates and all the breaking news. There should be lots more content coming when it comes to signings, trades, all the latest trade and free agent rumors as well. There'll be plenty of content coming soon, especially as we approach free agency coming up July 1st. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.